Hi, I'm Don from DonDronesOn. I love doing these interviews, showcasing Canadian drone pilots doing a wide variety of activities with their drones. Today, let's meet Mike McComb of WornstarMedia in Winnipeg. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Yeah, Don, I'm doing awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Cool. So tell us about WornstarMedia and how it developed and how you got into drones.
Well, I think it all started from the video side for me. I've been interested in video and editing video for an extended period of time, like 10, 15 years. Lots of band or help lots of local musicians promote their bands. Was in the power sports industry for about 25 years. The last job that I was at, my boss was interested in drones, and so was I, and he wanted to have some drone footage included in our marketing plan. So we bought the dealership, and probably more specifically me, a drone, so that we could fly it and get some footage and stuff. And that's how I was introduced to it. I was fascinated before having the drone, but even more fascinated when it came to flying the drone. It caused me such a huge level of anxiety flying drones for the first time. And, of course, that all started to go away once I got more stick time and watching YouTube videos from Don as well, from you as well, and learning more about drones, what their capabilities are and stuff like that. I started WornstarMedia as a side gig during my last job, and it was tough to promote it. What I was doing is I was doing a little bit of real estate photography, doing some drone work and stuff like that on the side, but it's tough to promote when I'm handsomely compensated as a sales and marketing manager for a power sports dealership. So it just made a few dollars on the side and developed some skills and stuff like that. And then COVID hit, and the dealership needed to close down for 2 weeks or a month or however long that was. And I just said to my boss, you can't afford me. You can't afford to pay me while I sit at home. Why don't I just take some time off? I'll go on Serve or EI or whatever it is. I had some money set aside from the side business. So then when I was off, I pushed with the Wornstar a little bit because I could then. I had my websites all in place and my, Google SEO all in place. So when somebody was punching in drone Winnipeg, I was showing up. So I had all that in place already. I just needed to push a little bit, and then WornstarMedia exploded. And then when it came time for my boss to offer me my job back, I said, no, thanks. I'm happy with where it
Wow.
is that I'm doing now. So I'm very, very lucky to be making a handsome living as a content creator, more than just drone, although drones, I don't know, I could be doing anything that it is that I'm doing now if drones weren't included in the solution. It's a very important part of what it is that I'm doing.
So you're doing real estate and commercials for different businesses I've seen on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, lots of promo videos, lots of drone work, I think real estate's probably about 60% of what it is that I do,
Mhm.
leaving 40% for everything else. What I've done in the last couple of years have been lots and lots of interesting jobs. I've done with my drone. I've done a couple of funerals. I just finished getting out of the bush from shooting some survival videos, which was very challenging. If somebody needs a site inspection, something like that, I'm doing that. There was a college from the college that got me to do it. There's a lighting company that wanted me to do before and after stuff. So the 40% other than real estate is such an open area. I do so many other things, and it makes it fun as a content creator. It makes it super fun that I get to have so many different experiences and do so many different things. It's been quite a journey in the last couple of years.
That is so cool. And having the variety of missions, if you like, or
Yeah.
projects,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
would make it so much fun. What kind of drones do you fly?
Well, my main workhorse is a Mavic 2 Pro. So that's the one that I've been using the most. I own I own a Mavic Mini as well, and what's nice about a Mavic Mini is it falls underneath the 250 gram class, so that if for whatever reason I need to, if I can't get drone flight authorization or something like that, or if I'm flying all over the place, like I was doing something for a real estate agent where they actually wanted neighborhood stuff. So I was going from spot to spot to spot to spot to spot. It'd be too hard to get drone flight authorization for every spot. So that I just use my Mavic Mini for that. So I've got that as a backup, but my main drone is my Mavic 2 Pro.
Excellent, excellent. And you have your advanced pilot certificate, I understand.
I definitely do. I took the course that was very hard to pass. With the help of your insight and your videos, you've been a part of that journey with me. So thank you for the efforts that you make. So yes, I did
That's
do
great
my
to hear.
I passed a course and I did my flight review. So my certification is advanced operations now. Yeah.
Super. Yeah, because a lot of Winnipeg is covered in controlled airspace. So I imagine you're needing to check on that as part of your missions, I imagine.
Yeah, Winnipeg's my home base, and the majority of Winnipeg is covered by controlled airspace. So there would be no business if I didn't have my advanced operations. That's for sure.
Right, right. Do I'm obligated to ask, do you use Drone Pilot Canada?
Of course, you're obligated to ask. I use Drone Pilot Canada to every single time I fly. Even the level of obsession that I have is that with regards to providing my clients the highest level and quality of product, or product. I guess that's what it is. I fly specifically video and then land my drone, take my ND filter off, put the standard UV filter on, and then fly it again. And when I do that, I actually log the video flight separately from the photography flight. Every single time I fly my drone, I use your app. So yeah, so that anybody ever has any questions. And I changed phones. I actually reached out to you. I'm not sure if you remember this or not. I reached out to you and said, I've changed phones. How do I get all that data information over? And you helped me with that. So so that was nice. So every single time I fly, I use your app.
Fantastic. That's fantastic to hear. And so you use it to determine if it's safe to fly and logging your flight. And then I guess you need to get the authorization for flying in controlled airspace through NavDrone.
So I do that on my I do that on my computer before I leave, but then once I've left, I use your app to make sure that as my log. If anybody was to ever ask me, based on the way that your app is set up, you've got these checklists that I use every single time. So if somebody was to say, hey, before that flight, did you check your props? Did you check your motors? Did you make sure that, you provide those checklists? And every single time I do that, I go through that checklist. So for whatever reason, anybody was to ever ask me, hey, did you make this flight properly? Well, not only did I make this flight properly, but here's the specific coordinates that I flew, thanks to your app. Here's the specific location, time, weather, and all of the checklists that I went through in order to fly it legally. So that's that part of your app I really like. So if anybody was to ever check with me and want to make sure I was doing things by the book, well, that's your app is awesome for that.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So when you're on these missions, do you have a specific set of shots in mind, like for a real estate shot, for example? Do you have your set pattern of video or pictures that you take, or do you kind of do it differently for every flight?
I guess the answer to that is yes and no. I mean, there's definitely shots that thinking about the end of video and the example of a real estate shoot, I want to start at the house and then go away from the house. There's one thing that I do, one toy or trick on my drone that I do use every single time I fly, is called point of interest. To actually draw a box around the house, and then I fly my drone. So the drone's always keeping the house in the middle so that I can back up or go high or go low or go round and round in orbit, and it always keeps the house in the center. So I do continue to use that little trick with the drone. However, once you get to the house, in the case of a real estate shoot, which isn't everything that I do, but it's a large portion of what I do.
Yep.
In the case of a real estate shoot, all of a sudden there's a park nearby. Well, what can I do with this park? I want to make sure that the prospective buyers for this house know that there's a playground right nearby. So that means I'm going to take my drone really low. I'm going to fly through the park and then right up into the house. Maybe there's a river nearby. Maybe there's a walkway nearby, something like that. So to a certain extent, yes, there's shots that I like to get, but sometimes it's not until you get there. If I had lots and lots of time for planning and stuff like that, I would go to Google Maps and try to figure out where things are before. But lucky for me, I'm incredibly busy. I get to the house, I have a look at what's going on, and then I make it work from there.
That's fantastic. So I think your experience with doing this, because you've done thousands, or at least it seems like thousands of real estate shots.
There's been lots. I'm very, very lucky. Like I said, to be making a comfortable living as a content creator. And I'm very busy. Like I said, I'm lucky. Some days, if not most days in the summertime for real estate, I'm working, 12 or 14 hours a day trying to get the stuff out.
Wow.
So yes, in some days, some weeks I fly every day and sometimes twice. So keeping on top of it and making sure that my approvals are all in place and flying in controlled airspace or whatever the case, I make sure that I'm on top of it all the time.
Cool. What would you say your most challenging flight has been, or mission, or project?
I was asked to film a funeral, which is kind of a strange thing.
Yes.
But he owned a trucking company, and so he had a bunch of trucks, and after the service, being taken to his final resting spot, he was being taken on the back of a flatbed on a trailer behind a truck. So, and there was a caravan of trucks, and the lady reached out to me and said, I'd really like for you to catch that on video. So what made that challenging, because it's not particularly challenging, I mean, you can do that, but what it made it challenging is it was pretty much blizzard conditions that day. It wasn't too cold, but it was snowing and the wind was really high. And I reached out to her in the morning, and of course, you can't reschedule a funeral, right?
Okay.
And
Can you just put that off a couple of days? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that. So what I said to her was, look, I'm going to do my best. Of course, I've had conversations with her before that, and we developed a rapport. But I said, I'm going to do my best. This is a challenging conditions. So I put my drone in the air, Mavic 2 Pro, and that thing flew like it was calm outside. I was really, really surprised. And the video is interesting because I'm flying it. You see all the snow, you see all the wind, and meanwhile, my drone is as solid as a rock there in the air. So it was a little scary going there, but I was really impressed with the performance of that. My Mavic Mini, don't get me wrong, that Mavic Mini sure comes in handy. But I mean, I was doing that flight in just south of Winnipeg, and if I put my Mavic Mini in the air, it would have ended up in Toronto. I mean,
yes, I would have caught it in my hand as it went by.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So any other challenges, like people being in the way or anything like that?
It's natural, I think, for a drone pilot just getting started to be self-conscious or concerned about where they're flying and what the neighbors are going to think. I don't know why drones have that type of stigmatism where people think that, oh my gosh, you're infringing on my privacy, or you're looking in my window, or something like that. It's really a ridiculous question. You can't see anybody. You can't see anybody's faces when you're, even 60 feet above the air. And I don't know that I fly much on my regular camera drones below 100 feet in the air. So it's a ridiculous paranoia. And I do and have been confronted by those that I like to call Karens, that like to take it upon themselves to What are you doing? Why are you here? What's going on? What are you filming? You're filming my backyard. I know exactly what it is that I'm doing. I always fly legally. I don't go up to somebody who's wearing a yellow vest and has a bobcat and is digging a hole and ask them why they're digging a hole. I don't understand why people feel it's their right and duty to confront a drone pilot and ask them what it is that they're doing. I simply don't worry about it. If somebody wants to come up and ask questions, my name is Mike. I'm with WornstarMedia. I'm flying completely legally. My drone's up in the sky right now. I'd like to fly safely. So if you'd like to have a conversation about this after I'm finished flying my drone, that would be great. Other than that, you can look me up. You can do whatever it is that you want, but I'd like to get back to work now. Do you know what I mean? So I just don't, those days of me worrying about what the neighbors think or somebody confronting me or something like that, those days for me are long gone. I'm flying professionally and responsibly and legally, so I just don't care what other people think. It's a silly drone stigmatism, and I just don't worry about it.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So lots of people would love to have as successful a business as you have, both from a video perspective and drone perspective. Any recommendations on how to achieve the same sort of success to other people?
So as far as the drone side is concerned, for my suggestion, when anybody ever stops and asks me about flying a drone, I always tell them go and buy yourself a DJI Mavic Mini. I mean, there's lots of other, well, not lots, there's a few other manufacturers of drones, but DJI at the end of the day really owns the marketplace. A Mavic Mini sits at under 250 grams, which is sort of an international, as you well know, an international weight that doesn't require any special licensing or anything like that. You still should be following rules and flying safely and responsibly. But a Mavic Mini is a great place to start as far as going out and flying a drone. If somebody is interested then at that point in flying drones, you could then make sense or justify purchasing a more expensive drone and investing more. But Mavic Mini is where I would start. However, my recommendation for people would be just sticking a drone in the air and flying around and around, in my mind, isn't good enough. There's a whole filmmaking aspect or cinematic aspect of things that I think people should be spending time on. And that would be flying at a proper frame rate, making sure that every drone move that you make is cinematic. And the way you make something cinematic is to make sure that you're using more than one drone move at a time. And if that means you're flying straight and moving your gimbal up to reveal something that's in the background, or going around and moving backwards at the same time, making sure that every shot is interesting. There's rules with regards to what frame rate you should be filming at, 24 frames per second, or more specifically, and sorry about getting geeky, 23.976. But 24 frames per second is what we see in the movies. That's what people are accustomed to seeing, and how you get down to that frame rate and editing your video at 24 frames per second. There's a whole film editing, filming aspect of things that I think people miss. And I think people should be investing as much time in learning how to edit their videos that they're taking with their drones than just getting the drone up in the air and flying it at the same time. So my tip would be, if you're interested in drones, Mavic Mini start, but don't forget the film aspect of it. Don't forget how to properly film something and make it look interesting.
Wow, that's perfect. Thank you for that. So Mike, you've been doing commercials and real estate shots and band videos and all of these things, and interspersing ground shots with aerial shots. What's next? What's next for Mike?
Well, what's next for me is FPV drones. Flying FPV drones, and where FPV drones are different than a standard camera drone. FPV drones require that you put goggles on and then you're a fighter pilot flying these drones. I'd like to consider myself to have at least an average amount of intelligence. I've done a lot of things in my 54 years. This has been the hardest thing that I've ever taught myself, is flying an FPV drone. There's no question it's become an obsession of mine to master this craft. Ideally, what I would like to do is develop some skills where I can actually fly from outside into a museum or into a car dealership or something like that, fly in that dealership and then back out the door again. That's the type of service that I'd like to be able to provide. That's difficult to learn. Radios, the drones themselves, beta flight and programming the drone, and what size, and what's the difference between a Cinewhoop and an FPV freestyle drone, and it goes on and on and on, and then how to properly control it, and then on the camera side of things, how to keep things smooth looking. And the obsession goes to the point where I've got this FPV drone, and then I've got this FPV drone, and then I've got this FPV drone, and then I've got this FPV drone that I bought myself for Christmas. This one's, I'm hoping and praying, is the answer, because it's a little bit larger, but still under 250 grams. So it's become an obsession to try to learn. It's been challenging. I've been using FPV drones a little bit in some of the videos that I've been producing. Mm-hmm. I did one for an artist recently where he had a display at an art gallery, and I flew around downtown. I did that. It's been a challenge, but it hopefully this season I'll develop to the point where I can produce, go to golf courses, and right when somebody swings a golf club, and to fall all the way down to where the ball drops to help a golf course promote their golf course.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Stuff like that. So those are the skills that I'm trying to develop, but it has been difficult. I have smashed drones and smashed cameras. It's been crazy, but I won't stop. I'm going to keep going until I develop those skills.
That is fantastic. It's great to have a vision of what you want to achieve and keep on trying. So
you got it.
Mike, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I love all your stories, and I'm sure my viewers and your viewers will enjoy it as well. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Don. Thanks for having me.